Before that night, he was known mostly in business circles. A self-made entrepreneur, he had built a company from nothing but determination and long hours. His story was one of grit, working late nights, facing rejection after rejection, and proving wrong those who said a black man could never climb that high. The invitation to the show felt like recognition, a chance to share his journey with millions. But the warning signs were there. The host had a reputation for confrontation. Guests were often humiliated, pushed into corners, and edited to look small. Still, he accepted. He believed that sharing his story, the story of resilience, faith, and refusing to be defined by stereotypes, was worth the risk. As the day of the interview arrived, he walked into the studio, past the buzzing crew and glaring lights. He carried himself calmly, but inside he knew. This was not just an interview. This was a test. The first few questions seemed harmless, almost flattering. "Tell us about your business," the host asked, smiling for the cameras. He answered with poise, explaining how he had started with nothing but a small loan and a relentless vision. But then the tone shifted. The host leaned back, smirked, and asked, "Don't you think you just got lucky? After all, statistics show men like you rarely succeed." The air thickened. The entrepreneur paused, holding back his initial reaction. He smiled politely, choosing his words carefully. "I don't believe success is about luck," he said. "It's about persistence." Yet the host pressed harder. "Some say the system is stacked against you. Others say maybe you're the exception, the one out of thousands. Isn't it possible your success just proves the rule?" A murmur rippled through the audience. The questions were no longer about his work. They were about who he was. Then came the most cutting remark. "Maybe the reason we don't see more success stories like yours is because, let's be honest, some communities just don't work as hard." The crowd gasped. The line had been crossed. He felt the heat rise inside him, but he didn't raise his voice. Instead, he leaned forward, his eyes steady. Every word he spoke carried the weight of generations. The studio was silent. He spoke slowly, deliberately. "You want to talk about work? My grandfather picked cotton for wages that could barely feed his family. My father worked double shifts in factories where his worth was measured in hours, not dreams. And when I built my company, I heard no more times than I could count. Not because the idea was bad, but because of the man behind it. And yet, I kept going." His voice grew firmer. "Hard work is not the problem. Opportunity is. And when people are denied opportunity, their brilliance is buried. I am not an exception. I am the proof of what happens when barriers are broken." The audience erupted in applause. Even the cameras seemed to lean in closer. The host shifted uncomfortably, clearly not expecting such a powerful reply. But he wasn't finished. "You sit here and call it luck. But luck didn't put in the hours. Luck didn't face rejection. Luck didn't carry the weight of history and still refuse to break. My success is not luck. It is a challenge. A challenge to a system that told me I couldn't." For a moment, the host had no words. The silence that followed was louder than any insult that had come before. The segment aired, and within hours it spread across the country. Clips of his response flooded social media. Some cheered, others debated, but no one ignored it. The man who was supposed to be belittled had instead turned the tables, reminding America of the truth it too often tried to forget. For him, it wasn't just about winning an argument. It was about using a platform meant for ridicule to speak for those whose voices were drowned out. His words became a mirror, forcing a nation to confront itself. Days later, newspapers ran headlines about the entrepreneur who silenced the host. Commentators dissected every sentence. But for those who had lived the reality he spoke of, it wasn't just a speech. It was validation. He went back to work the next day. Not a celebrity, but a man with a mission. Because in the end, his victory wasn't about applause. It was about proof that dignity can overcome insult, that truth can silence ignorance, and that one voice, when used with courage, can echo far beyond a studio. And so the question lingers, how many more voices will it take before the system listens?